Hi. Hi, everyone, and welcome. Welcome to the Cyber Academy Awards ceremony, also known as the Cyber Oscars. My name is Horrowitz, and I'm very excited to be here hosting this event. I actually spent about 10 years in military intelligence, and back in these years, I wasn't able to attend any public events. So it's especially exciting to be in Checkpoint and to be able to not only attend these events, but also to host them. So what today is all about is honoring the threat actors and the best attacks of the year. We all know the hackers, those who work from their parents' basements, spamming our emails, stealing our data, our credentials, and eventually our money. And this is the time that we take to choose those who have done the best job this year. What's going to happen is that we'll have several categories and between 3 to 4 nominees in each category. And our unbiased judges with the Cyber Academy have chosen the winner for each category. So without further ado, let's go to the first category for today, which is the best threat actor. So as you probably know, there are numerous threat actors out there. Some work alone, some work in groups, some more successful than others. And let's see the best for this year. For being one of the only female threat actors or actress, we have our APT Wonder Woman. For being able to choose great groups of actors or hackers consistently, we have APT's Harry Potter and APT Star Wars. And for being able to be very, very persistent with the success of this attack, although with very poor hacking and acting skills, we have Get Rich or Die Trying. And the winner for Best Threat Actor for the year is Get Rich or Die Trying. Applause, yeah. So what is this all about? It all started last year when there was a crisis in the Gulf area with Saudi Arabia in the middle of this crisis. And during this time frame, we started seeing emails coming allegedly from Saudi Aramco, the world's largest oil company, maybe even the largest company in the world. And these emails were sent to different oil companies, oil, gas, and shipping around the Mediterranean. And these emails were, again, allegedly a very important request for quotation. Now, the odd thing about them is that the attachment that you'd expect to be either a document, a PDF, a spreadsheet, was actually an executable. So that's pretty peculiar. And indeed, Sandblast, our sandbox, recognized these files as malicious. But on VirusTotal, so with other antivirus companies, it had a very, very low rate, so most companies thought that this is not malicious. And in these cases, we tend to look manually at the files to realize if it's a very unique detection by Sandblast or, God forbid, never happens, a false positive. And in this case, it was actually malware. But although it was a very targeted attack that looked very advanced, the malware was something that anyone can buy online, so not even on the dark web, but just online, for about $50. So it doesn't really sound that advanced now, right? We kept on looking into the malware and the attack, and we saw that only from Sandblast customers, there were about 200 organizations targeted by this attack. But all in all, there were about 4,000 companies with 6,000 different emails being attacked. But the most interesting number is that there were dozens of actual infections, meaning dozens of people from very high-profile companies actually double-clicked the executable to let the malware into their networks. So that's where we see that the security posture and the awareness are not at the level that we want them to be. When we looked into the malware, into the code of the malware, we saw that the command and control communication, while sending back the things from the victim's computers, is done over email, over SMTP, which means that an infected computer would take screenshots and record keylogs and send them to the threat actor via email. So we started recording this communication, and we were actually able to find the email and password for the attacker's email, which is how we were able to put our hands on some of these screenshots taken from the victims of the attack. Now, this is an interesting screenshot, and the reason is that what we're seeing here is someone looking over some inbox, and in this inbox, we see screenshots and keylogs taken out of many computers. In other words, what we see here is actually a screenshot from the computer of the threat actor. So probably while creating this attack, he or she did some testing, ran the malware on their computer, and never took the time to remove it. So they're still sending screenshots and keylogs to their own command and control server. Now here you can see that the browser that's open and looking at this mailbox is Firefox. But in another screenshot coming from the exact same computer, we saw a screenshot of the Chrome browser and someone logging into Facebook. So in other words, this is the Facebook account of the threat actor. So, of course, we checked who this person was, and here he is, meet our threat actor. So this is a person from Nigeria, a young person who lives there and conducts these attacks. And you can see that his motto in life is, according to his Facebook account, is get rich or die trying. So he really acts upon his motto, which is always great. Now, the minute that we understood that this is the threat actor, we sent all this information to the law enforcement or the police in Nigeria, who did not do anything about it, maybe because this is like, you know, the top income to Nigeria is from hacking. But we also sent it to law enforcement agencies globally, and now there is a global arrest warrant against him. So he was not able to leave Nigeria and come get his award, so he won't be here today with us. And we'll move on to our next category. So the second category for today is for the best malware in a supporting role. In other words, a malware that in one variant or another was used in numerous cyber attacks. And these are our nominees. So, for being the largest spam bot by far, spamming hundreds of thousands of emails and sending them all types of malware, usually ransomware, we have Necrus spam bot. For being an inspiration to generations of malware to come, we have the I Love You virus. And for starting a whole new trend and a new genre of attacks, we have the Mirai IoT botnet. And the winner for best malware in a supporting role for the year is Mirai. Yeah. So a few words about Mirai and its generations. It actually started in 2016. The malware was out and a few attacks started occurring back then. About a month later, it was used to attack the website of Brian Krebs, a security researcher. We'll get back to that later. Then the code of the malware was published in dark web forums, which is always the minute that we know that this malware is going to be huge because there are going to be many copycats using the code in their own attacks. And indeed, not much after that, we had the huge DNS, DDoS on DIN DNS, which is probably the closest thing ever to taking down the internet. And since then, many new variants of Mirai were created, some of them in other languages, attacking very specific audiences, like the Persian one, and others that actually took it to the next level, and that we were able to find in Checkpoint. And these are these two variants. So the difference between them and the original Mirai is that the original Mirai, in order to get from one IoT device to another, it enumerated over default credentials. So trying to log into the device with admin or 1234 as a password or whatever. And in these new variants, the malware actually tries to exploit vulnerabilities on the devices to get from one to another. So in one case, it used many old vulnerabilities, and in the Huawei attack, it actually exploited a zero-day vulnerability found by the hacker. So a zero-day vulnerability on Huawei, we found this attack, we reported the vulnerability to Huawei, they issued a patch, and then we published this data. Now, in our publication, we actually included the nickname or the avatar of the threat actor. So we found that there's a person named Nexus Zeta, who's kind of active in different forums in the dark web, and this person was asking for people to help him with compiling a variant of Mirai because he wants to get access to a huge network of devices. He probably got the help that he asked for, and this is from just a month ago. Turns out that some hacker was upset with Nexus Zeta and published his real name on another forum. Now, law enforcement agencies found this information. He was arrested, and he's now in prison in the US. So, because we found this attack and published the nickname of the person, law enforcement agencies were able to kind of close the loop and put this person in jail. So obviously, he couldn't be here today to accept the award. But if we go back to the original Mirai, and I told you that it was used in a DDoS attack on Brian Krebs' website, a security researcher. So it's not a person to mess with because he's really a brilliant security researcher, and he did everything that he could to find the person who's beyond Mirai. And the interesting story here is that he found that the person who developed the original Mirai botnet is or was the co-founder of an American company who creates DDoS protection. Okay, so this person kind of built this attack in order to showcase that his product is worthwhile. So this person is also in jail now in the US. Again, no one can come here, only the good guys. So moving on to the next award. So this award is for the best short campaign. We're very strict here. This only goes to campaigns that lasted less than 1 week. And this was a very easy choice. Of course, the best or the most famous campaign that took only 3 days was WannaCry. Yeah, no need to applaud for WannaCry, and no need for me to talk a lot about it because it's getting very boring and redundant. All I want to say is that while this attack started in April, in April we saw that this code was released. In May, the WannaCry attack happened. A day later, a kill switch was found that actually stopped this attack. And the third kill switch was actually found by an analyst from my group who was able to put a stop. This was the third and last version of the attack. So we actually stopped the entire WannaCry campaign, but it came back to hunt us a month later with NotPetya. But the interesting part here is what had happened in March, which is that Microsoft had released their Patch Tuesday, which patched this SMB vulnerability that enabled WannaCry. And of course, somewhere in between, we also published an IPS protection that blocked this vulnerability, or an exploit of this vulnerability, meaning that in May, anyone who would have either patched their systems and or used proper security would not have been one of the 200,000 computers that were infected with WannaCry. So that's a thing to put in mind, that even these attacks that are so huge and so disastrous, they also can be blocked fairly easily because eventually the attackers use the same information that we use in our intelligence and we pour into our products. As you probably know, some say that these are North Koreans behind these attacks, and they don't really tend to leave their country because they might not be able to find their way back. So again, no one to accept this award. Our next category is for the best animated ransomware, meaning the ransom note that stood out from the others. And here again, pretty easy choice. We have again WannaCry, who really had a very, very famous ransom note. The reason that it's so famous is that it was in so many places, you know, in these 3 days, like every billboard, every sign, every screen showed it. So yeah, it was very famous, and in fact, it was so successful that they're already thinking about the sequel, yeah. So wait for next year. There's more to come. Moving on to the next category. So this is a category for the best foreign language campaign. And it means the campaign that was run in a language other than the most frequent language for threat campaigns, which is, of course, Russian. So any campaign not coming out of Russia is valid for this category. And these are the nominees. So with its third nomination today, we have WannaCry coming from North Korea. From China, we have the Fireball malware. From Nigeria, Get Rich or Die Trying. And from France, we have the interruption to the elections, which actually did come from Russia, right? So we'll change it to the interruptions to the US elections. Yeah, they also came from Russia, so we'll just stay with 3 nominees in this category. And the winner for best foreign language campaign is Fireball. Yeah, they deserve it. So what's Fireball? Has anyone ever used Trotux as their search engine? No one. That's okay. I only got 1 vote for it ever, and it's only because a person felt sorry for me that no one's voting, so it's okay. No one's ever heard of Trotux, which is why it's very odd that it is such a popular website, and it's not the only one. There are other search engines that no one's ever heard of, and they have a very high Alexa rate, meaning many people use them. And they all use the exact same HTML code. So they are all the exact same search engine, only with a different color and different magnifying glass, but they're all exactly the same, published or used by the same people. And actually, they are not really search engines. They're just search boxes. So whatever you search for in this box is actually getting redirected to either Google or Yahoo. So how come it's so famous? It's because it's being spread by an adware. So there's an adware that we named Fireball, that what it does, or what you see that it does, is that it changes one's homepage and default search engine into Trotux or one of these others. But behind the scene, what it also does is that it enables remote code execution. So it means that any machine or any computer that has this adware on it can download and install additional malware at any given time. And because this adware is being published or owned by Chinese people or a Chinese company, it probably means that Chinese government can control every computer that has Firewall installed on it. And you want to know how many computers have this installed on them? So somewhere between 50 to 250 computers worldwide. And in 1 out of each 5 organizations or 5 networks, we found at least 1 instance of Firewall. So this is huge, okay? Again, China can control this amount of computer at any given time. But on the front end, it wasn't China, but a Chinese company called Rafotec. So honestly, when we first published this, I was kind of shaking because it's not very popular to say that adware is malicious. But because of this remote code execution ability and because of its popularity, we decided to publish it. And turns out that it was a good decision because the day after we'd published it, Rafotec's website went down and all of its employees started deleting their LinkedIn profiles so that no one will be able to know that they work for this company. And a couple of weeks later, the Chinese police arrested the C-level of this company. So 11 people, CEO, CTO, and others, were arrested following our publication. So yeah, as you can probably guess, these people are in jail in China, couldn't be here to accept their award. We'll make sure to send it so that it can decorate their prison cell. Next category, so that's the category everyone always waits for. That's like the best-selling attack of the year, the blockbuster of the year. And here we have our 3 nominees are the most popular monetization methods for threat actors. So up until 2014, it would have been banking Trojans. From 2014, with CryptoWall and CryptoLocker and their friends, would have been ransomware. But actually, in the last year or so, it's definitely been the year of crypto miners. Yeah, sure. Let's give them a hand. So really, for me, crypto miners are getting really boring because whatever research we do, eventually we understand that it delivers crypto miner. It's really everywhere now, definitely the weapon of choice for threat actors. And I just want to say a word here about why it's even interesting and why we bother to talk about it, because it sounds like it's only someone who's working, in the background and you don't really need to care. So these are a few reasons why we do care about crypto miners. And the most important reason is the first. So if you're a company and there's a crypto miner on your servers, it can actually create a denial of service because the CPU is exhausted. And also, we've seen organizations in which a crypto miner was installed on their cloud infrastructure, their public cloud infrastructure. And one of the benefits of public cloud is auto-scaling. So if you need more CPU, you'd get more CPU. And obviously, crypto miners want it, so they get it from the cloud provider. And what the organization gets is a huge bill for using a lot of resources. So it's pretty disturbing. And of course, a crypto miner is also just a foot in the door. So it means that something is installed that can pull additional malware at any given time. And just to showcase the popularity of crypto miners, this is data from 2018 here in Spain for the 4 main types of attacks: crypto miners, mobile malware, ransomware, and banking Trojans. And you can see that the leading type of attack throughout the entire year has been crypto miners, with actually mobile attacks pretty close behind, but it's mostly about crypto miners. Now, crypto miners have different methods to load. So some of them are just malware. Some of them use the browser and take the browser's resources. And obviously, if you watch a movie or a TV series, it means that you're hooked to your browser for 30 or 90 minutes. So that's the best time to do the mining. Also, if you happen to watch porn, many crypto miners and these websites. But also, some of these attacks exploit vulnerabilities on servers to load onto them, because of course a server has much more computation power than a PC or a web browser. And these are two attacks that we at Checkpoint found in the last year or so. So we have Jenkins miner and Ruby miner attacking Jenkins servers and Ruby on Rails servers. And the Ruby miner is interesting because this attack on Ruby on Rails is 5 years old. So we have a 5-year-old vulnerability exploited in order to send out these crypto miners. And in fact, there was another vulnerability exploited in this attack, which is on IIS servers. And this one, it's actually a vulnerability that's been published in 2005. So these are pretty old vulnerabilities, but it works, right? So if we look at all the attacks that took place in 2017, you can see that about like more than a quarter of them were our vulnerabilities that had been published over a decade ago. Okay, so threat actors are really just recycling, reusing old code, old vulnerabilities, and this is again, just another reason to actually to patch and to use security, because it's very, very easy to block these attacks. And they're counting on the fact that most of us just don't take the time to do that, and their attacks still work, although they're very, very old. So the last kind of official category is for prediction for the time to come. So what the Cyber Academy sees coming around the corner. And actually, they don't see anything very new coming. So the very same attacks will still occur, but they will just hit us somewhere else, namely on cloud infrastructure. Because eventually all the attacks that I just talked about would work also on the cloud. So a botnet is even stronger on the cloud because there's not a lot of segmentation. It can easily hop from one application to another. Emails, phishing, with O365, it's even easier. If you get on the organization's email, you can easily hop from there to any other applications and into the corporate network. Ransomware, we have seen many ransom attacks, also on cloud infrastructure, where hackers kind of take over databases that are on the cloud and ask for ransom in order not to publish the data. And of course, crypto miners, with the emphasis on auto-scaling and the cost in money for these attacks. And this is not an official category, but since I host this event, I get to choose and add my own categories. So I've added this category for the best security vendor. And as you can probably guess, what I chose is Checkpoint. Yeah. But I'm not the only one to have chosen Checkpoint. So the reason that I chose it is because we put a lot of emphasis on doing actionable threat intelligence. So everything that my group does, and all of our researchers and analysts, we do it in order to put the content in the Checkpoint products. So to block it in whatever threat prevention solutions that we can. So this is 90% of what we do, we also do security services and awareness. So all these publications are important in order for awareness. So for people to be aware that they should not double-click an executable that's being sent over email, etc. And we actually have some unbiased judges who agree with my conclusion and who keep saying over and over again that Check Point is the best security vendor. And actually, everything that I just talked about, it's all data found primarily by Check Point. So we were first to find and publish these attacks, but more importantly, we were the first time to block them, because we blocked them on 0 second with our different heuristics, AI, or just signatures, because we follow the same intelligence sources as the threat actor. So with this, I would like to thank you for arriving at this event. It was a pleasure to host it, and I hope to see you all in the VIP cocktail party tonight. So thank you very much.